doesn't have to be old to be a beautiful blend. And we've got the average age of the whiskeys are 10 to 12 years old here. An additional, maybe about 20 months in the secondary barreling for this. Gorgeous, brand new virgin French oak that is toasted to our spec.
There's nothing harsh to this.
No.
There's nothing aggressive, nothing that says, age me longer.
Right. And it's 46 ABV, too, so it's a big, bold, rich whiskey.
Is this spice tree something that people can find?
Everywhere. This is available all over, actually all over the world. I think we're in 17 different countries and 26 different states, so it's quite available generally. Yeah. We try to hit every one of those.
Oh. Again, a great mouthfeel.
Yeah.
Or something big here.
Yeah.
It's fresh. It's
light, and yet exactly. It's almost as if it kind of creates this really lovely soft bubble on your palate, and it has all this flavor around it. There's a lightness of being to it without being heavy. Now at the very end, you get the rich spices that come out of there. You get some cardamom, you get some ginger, a little bit of clove, mixed with the fruit, the big ball of fruit with ribbons of spice around it. It's just, it's magnificent.
I'll have this just neat, but is it okay if you put ice on that?
You know, I always carry around my little pipette just to kind of prove to people that water and whiskey, there's nothing wrong with water and whiskey. You dilute it to your taste. If you want to drink it straight, if you want to drink it with a touch of water, typically when I'm not evaluating a whiskey and I already know the whiskey, I know everything about it, and I enjoy it, and I go out to a bar, I ask the bartender one ice cube in there, and it's enjoyable, slow melt, and yeah, absolutely. So definitely, however that person wants to drink whiskey, they should have it. But yeah, a little bit of water is good. Opens it up. You know, just kind of like it's like 30 minutes with a big Cabernet, right?
Okay.
Little drop of water.
Need a bit of air and
yeah.
So I trust you go out to bars quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because you need to make sure
right
that the whiskey will be poured in the right places and so on.
And right.
What is the mood that you put on Spice Tree? When do you drink Spice Tree?
Oh, gee. Well, it is a big, and I guess it depends on the drinker, right? Okay. The whiskey drinker, I mean, someone who likes big Highland-style whiskeys, gee, when do you enjoy those? Saturday afternoon or Sunday night, right? Typically, this is so rich, and this is perfect after dinner. Okay. But I will tell you, here's one of the secrets. This is a perfect accompaniment with a pastrami sandwich. And I found this out accidentally one day when I was doing a tasting. I went down and I picked up a big pastrami sandwich from Carnegie Deli. I took it home.
That's the best
right? Exactly, right? I took it home. I'm eating. I said, what would go really well with this? And I see this bottle of Spice Tree on my cabinet. And it's calling me. And I had it, and it's the spices are in perfect balance with the spices that you get in pastrami. The richness of this kind of cuts through the fat. It was phenomenal. You know, there's not a place I don't go where I don't tell people to actually eat that with pastrami. So, actually, I should sell this at Carnegie.
Right. Do they have a liquor license?
I don't think so. Yeah. Right.
So we had the grain.
Right. Well, we had the blend.
We had the blend.
The blend.
Grain and single malt.
Right.
We had the blended malt.
Blended malt.
Only single malt.
Only single malts. Right. Or in the old term, vatted malt. Yeah.
What's next?
The next one, of course, would then be the vatted grain whiskey, the blended grain whiskey that we mentioned before, hedonism, right? The one that sort of like came out of the chute with the origin of Compass Box.
That needs to be in everybody's house.
It does. And if anyone who's got a whiskey collection, this is going to fill a gap in it that it is there. You don't know it's there yet until you taste it, and then you realize that this is just not that common. No.
It is not common.
No, not at all.
Right now, everybody's paying attention to those, Cameron Bridge and other
the Clarksbridge and the grain, single grain,
and looking for single grain.
Right.
releases.
Right.
And it was like, where is it? It's rare, and maybe I've got some 64 and so on. This is it.
This is it, yeah. And again, I have to think that hedonism was responsible for the uptick in interest in these single grains, where people may not have been that familiar with them before. Because when you think about it, this presents itself in the industry as filler for blends, right? Until you pick the right barrel from the right distilleries, bring them together, and it's so extraordinary.
But what is it then that in these distilleries, in these grain distilleries, is it that they just don't go through all of those barrels? They don't know that they've got something really different, or is it that they know this barrel and that barrel are just too special, so we're not going to use it? Let's sell it.
Well, no. Well, all whiskey is still sold sort of like from a negociant perspective in Scotland. Someone who is an independent bottler can go and select certain grain. It was the interest in the grain that changed. The interest in the grain. Because when you think about it, grain whiskey represents about 94% of all the whiskey that's actually produced in Scotland, and yet 100% of it by contract goes straight to the blending houses, right? So there just wasn't an awareness of it.
This smells so good.
Yeah, this is the most.
This is amazing.
Yeah, there's you get like gorgeous kind of brittled candy right off the top of the nose here.
Pine sap candies.
Pine sap, yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. There is, well, when I grew up in Western Pennsylvania, there was a candy that was called Zagnut, and it was a hard candy with a crisp toasted coconut coating, and that's what this reminds me of. It's Zagnut for adults, in the liquid form.
We remain kids.
Yeah,
no matter
yeah,
what.
we should. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this will certainly bring out the child in us sometimes.
It's just that toys have been replaced with toys.
Right. Yeah, this is, this is like a perfect cigar pairing. I found out with this, with like a medium spice, like a Fuente, a Connecticut wrapper on this. It's just really brilliant.
The aromatics here are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's you can just kind of this forever.
Can a grain whiskey be that expressive?
Well, yeah, it is. And again, I think, it's really John's brilliance as a blender here in kind of finding those particular barrels that are right together. So these are marriages, when you think about it.
Of how many barrels?
Two. Well, there's a vast number of barrels that puts together a batch, but the sourcing will only be from two distillers, maybe a third, it's a small percentage.
Okay.
And again, as a crafted item, there's going to be some variations over the arc of time,
But do we know exactly which barrels were there? Obviously, American oak.
The all-American first fill American oak only, absolutely no sherry barreled here. And now here's what's interesting, is that in the older whiskeys in here, the 25 and the 39, the predominant grain in the mash bill then was corn or maize.
And now it's wheat.
Now it's wheat. So we're actually drinking whiskeys here that are no longer being made.
This is history.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, that's what's so cool about it.
Most grain distilleries switch to wheat.
To wheat. Yeah, it's cheaper, faster. It's all about yield, all about quantity, right?
That smell.
Yeah, it's really pretty.
Oh boy.
That's pretty. Good cask selection is understanding the provenance of the cask, right? And not all casks are equal. There are some bourbon distilleries that have consistently and always air-dried the wood prior to coopering. Some bourbon distilleries don't.
They just kiln it very
They
quickly.
kiln it, done, right, and they get it into production. It's a cheaper way to actually produce. But what happens is when you let it sit out there in the yard and air-dry, your tannins tend to be suppressed, and the richness of those vanillins, right, the lignans, actually, when they eventually toast the barrel, the lignans open up and release those vanillins, and so the tones are deeper and richer. So there are I think nowadays everyone knows who those bourbon distilleries are.
Okay.
And so people who are selecting barrels are looking for barrels that have been aged in those particular bourbon distilleries, of which
so
I'm not even going to tell you who they are.
It's not just white oak.
No, it's what you do to the oak.
It's not-
We are actually, we're looking at the Great King Street line as really being kind of like a big jump for Compass Box, because this is a line of whiskey of which Artist's Blend is this particular style. So there will be other Great King Streets that will have different styles, and then of course then they'll have different banner names on them as well. So this is going to occupy our.
We're looking at this as a new staple from Compass Box.
From Compass Box under the Great
But
King.
we'll always see the hedonism.
Actually, our entire core line, of which we're missing two of them right here.
Which are the other two?
Asila and Oak Cross. We're missing from this lineup right here. And then, as they come, we'll continue to make these sort of really special limited editions, like this gorgeous Flaming Heart here as well.
Tell us about it.
Well, it is fabulous. There are 4,186 bottles of this made. The label is just a standout. It looks like a 15th century Dürer print done by a tattoo artist. Flaming Heart itself comes from a rock and roll song, and the juice inside of here is this fabulous. And of course, there you go. I mean, we tell you exactly, talk about transparency, we tell you exactly where this comes from, right? So we have a little bit of the Isle of Mull in here, and we have a little bit of Isla in here, and we have a little bit of the Highlands in here.